thanks again. I'm here in California with former Defense Secretary Leon Panetta, whose Panetta Institute has decided, for some reason, to honor me along with members of Congress Jim Clyburn and Liz Cheney. And despite that obvious lapse in judgment, we're going to talk about the state of our democracy. Thank you for having me here, Mr. Secretary.
Well, welcome to Monterey, and welcome to the Panetta Institute. It's good to have you.
So the award and the Panetta Institute are all about commitment to the principles of democracy in politics and in journalism. You've spent the better part of 50 years, a half century in Washington, working both with Republicans and Democrats. What is the state of our politics and our government today?
I was talking about national security the other day and asked some questions about the threats to our national security. And of course, there are a lot of danger points in the world. But I said the greatest threat to our national security is the dysfunction in our democracy, the inability of Republicans and Democrats to be able to really work together in order to resolve the issues facing our democracy. Governing is critical to our democracy. Governing is in danger today.
When you look at the polarization in Washington and our failure to address big national problems, when you look at the debate not over policy, but over facts, over truth, the question to me is why? And I asked Jim Clyburn this earlier this week, and he said social media, but it's got to be more than just that.
Yeah, I think it is. It's about putting party over country. And when you put party over country, you're willing to say whatever's necessary in order to be able to put down the other party and also to gain power. That's the principal focus, rather than the ability to govern and deal with the issues that you're confronting. If they refuse to look at the truth, look at the facts, be willing to listen to one another, be willing to find consensus, to work together. That is the heart of governing. And if you're not willing to do those elements, then you're going to have total confrontation and gridlock. And that's what we have.
Let's talk a little bit of current politics. Democrats, I think it's fair to say, took a shellacking on Tuesday in elections across the country. What do you think voters were saying?
I think voters were expressing the same frustration they've been exhibiting for the last few elections, which is Washington is not working. Here I am trying to deal with problems facing my family. I'm trying to get a job, be able to provide security, give my kids an education, be able to take care of the healthcare problems of my family. I'm facing all of these issues, and Washington is not working. Washington's dysfunctional.
So did they take it out on the Democrats this time because the Democrats are in charge?
I think they took it out on the Democrats because the Democrats are in charge, and they obviously were not passing bills and showing that they could make Washington work. And they did the same thing to the Republicans over exactly the same frustration. The price you pay, I mean, I often tell the students here at the Panetta Institute, we govern in our democracy by leadership or by crisis. If leadership is there, you can avoid crisis. But if it's not there, we govern by crisis. But there's a price to be paid. You lose the trust of the American people in our system of governing.
Well, let's talk about a crisis, and let's talk about Joe Biden. During the chaos surrounding the withdrawal from Afghanistan in August, you said that he should do what President Kennedy did after the Bay of Pigs disaster. He should take full responsibility for it. Instead, in his address to the nation when the withdrawal was over, he said that the withdrawal, the operation, was a, quote, extreme success. Mistake?
Yeah, I think, I've told presidents this in the various jobs that I've had, that the most important thing about the responsibility as president is to be honest with the American people. And that means not only taking credit for your successes, it means telling the American people when you make a mistake. Because they know you've made a mistake. You know you've made a mistake. And frankly, to play this game of kind of always portray, even your worst mistakes as some kind of success hurts your credibility as President of the United States.
I mean, people see it, and if you're not willing to acknowledge it, then...
Exactly. They know you've made a mistake. The President knows he made mistakes here. I mean, it was no secret. He made the decision, whatever you decide about the decision he made, the execution of a presidential decision decides whether or not it's going to be a success or a failure. That execution was not conducted right.
Now we've got the disarray over trying to get the president's domestic agenda through both the House and the Senate. And it seems to me he's trying to govern like FDR or LBJ when he's got razor-thin margins. What do you think of both the legislative strategy of this president and this White House, and also just the plain immense size of the package he's trying to get through?
Well, you know, I always know that there's kind of a mindset in the White House that somehow, let's do something big. That's important for your legacy. And so presidents think that way. I understand that. But in our system, the key is to get things done. And that means that not everything can be a huge package. You're going to have to work on elements that are important for the country and decide how you get those elements through that are workable, where you can get Democrats and Republicans to come together and be able to get it through. Infrastructure is a good example of that. You got a bipartisan infrastructure bill. That's a major achievement. Get the damn thing passed.
And get it to his desk, and then if you got this other big...
If you got this other one, you may want to, you know, you're dealing with social policy, you're dealing with tax credits, you're dealing with health care, you're dealing with a number of issues. That's a very big package. You know, I remember when Bill Clinton tried to get health care passed, and it was a large package, but he could not put the pieces together. Ultimately, what they did is they started passing separate parts of that bill through, and they were successful. I think there's a lesson to be learned here.
Well, you talk about Bill Clinton. I remember back in 1994 when Bill Clinton took you out of the budget OMB and made you the White House Chief of Staff, and you brought in discipline and focus and helped set things right for Bill Clinton in year 2 of his presidency. Does this Biden White House need a reboot, and frankly, does it maybe need a shakeup in some of the senior staff?
Well, that's a decision that the president has to make up. It's not a decision for his chief of staff to make. It's not a decision for his staff to make. It's a decision that Joe Biden has to make in his guts as to whether or not he needs that. I mean, Joe has been around a long time, and I've known him for a long time. I think he understands politics. He understands the dangers of politics. He understands what it takes to get things done. He's got to decide, do I have a staff and an administration that is competent to get things done, or am I in trouble? In other words, are the pieces of government that have to work not working? If that's the case, then yes, you've got to be able to say, damn it, I've got to get people in there that know how to push people around, get discipline, and get competence. Because in the end, whatever you want to do as president, if you can't get it done, then you're not going to have much of a legacy.
And sitting here 3,000 miles away from Washington as the head of the Panetta Institute, what's your answer?
My answer is that you have to continue to work at this job. You can't just accept what you've got if it's not working well. You've got to have the ability to adjust. You have to have the ability to kind of look at where you've got to strengthen your staff, and you have to look at how the hell do I get things done so that I can get a message to the American people that I care about them and I'm trying to do the right thing. Those are the pieces he's got to focus on.
Mr. Secretary, thank you. Thank you for talking to us. Thank you for inviting me out here to the Panetta Institute. It's going to be a great weekend.
It's great. We really look forward to the ability to honor you and the others and our democracy.
What a mistake on your part, sir.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.